What's good, family, and welcome to another episode of Jimmy Bond's podcast right here on Philadelphia Radio. Remember, you always can call us with your comments and your questions at 215-472-0881. Again, that's 215-472-0881. You also can email us at jimmybondspodcast@gmail.com. Again, it's jimmybondspodcast@gmail.com. It's JIMMYBONDS podcast@gmail.com. Also, family, make sure you follow us on Instagram at Jimmy Bond's Podcast, on TikTok at Jimmy Bond's Podcast, and make sure you join Jimmy Bond Podcast Facebook group. Let's continue to open the dialogue. Move right along, family. This afternoon, we have a great guest with us today. I am so happy he is on with us. He has so much introspective things to talk about. But for all of our guests, before he comes on, before he starts talking and gives us his spew, I want to read you a little bio about him, talk to you about him, and give him a nice introduction. So, family, here we are. Brother Karim Valentine is a New York-based author who works to bridge timeless scripture with the challenges of modern-day life. He is the author of Psalms of a Modern Man and recently published Biblical Life Lessons for Modern-Day Living, Apply Practical Biblical Wisdom and Life Solutions. Through his writing, Kareem makes biblical principles accessible and practical, offering readers a guide for navigating faith, relationship, and everyday struggles we face. His mission is to inspire reflection, growth, and a deeper connection to wisdom that has stood the test of time. I like to describe Kareem as thoughtful, introspective, grounded, insightful, culturally aware, bridge builder, compassionate, and authentic. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to my brother, Kareem Valentine. Welcome to the show, fam. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Yes,
Welcome to the
sir.
show.
I
Welcome
appreciate
to the
that
show.
introduction. I hope you don't take it back, brother.
Not at all, fam. This is you. This is who you are. This is what you got going on. I'm just always, when I meet authors, the thing about authors that I love so much is that writing in the English language is such a great communication tool. And I think people we sometimes, because of our everyday dialect and our everyday colloquialisms, we sometimes don't value how important the language that we use when we're actually not just teaching but actually writing and transferring information. So, with that being said, can you tell me, just, before we start talking about your newest release, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and really what inspired you to become an author?
Well, I'm one of several ministers in Love Fellowship Church out of Brooklyn, New York. I'm a veteran. I was in the Army for 14 years,
Shout
Army
out to the vets.
Reserve,
Shout out to the
National
vets.
Guard, active duty. I did all of that. And I just love being able to teach people new things. And one of the forms of that is through writing. My
Mm,
pastor, the late great honorable Pastor Ronnie Leakey, he went on to be with the Lord. One of the things I appreciate so much is him is just reaching out to me and just extracting the talent that was there. He had me constantly put together messages, sermons. Some of them are 5 minutes, 10, 20 minutes throughout the years. And just, sometimes he would call you on the spot. But what he was doing was just developing all of us. And that whole process is what led to me being able to, first of all, write this book, because the book is actually two sermons that I put together
mm,
that I
mm.
did years ago. So yeah, I combined them, I put them together, made it flow right, and that was the inspiration for that. I said one day I always had this thought in my mind. I said I'm going to catalog all these messages that I do, because one day I'm going to release books for each and every one of them, because they help people. The reaction that I got from people in the congregation was awesome. I was like, it's very practical, and you want something that can bridge that gap where people don't look at the Bible as some ancient book that's just totally foreign to them. That's that's
So
that's
true.
that's old. That's antiquity. I can't
It's so
use that
true.
in modern day life. So I had to
Yes.
find a way to bridge that gap and take some things and put them together so that people can identify with it and bring up some stuff that's happening currently in the world so that they can say, oh, yeah, I remember that, and show them the biblical parallel to that. This is not really new. This happened over 2,000 years ago, just in a different way, you
Yeah,
know?
for sure. For sure. You mentioned something, I'm gonna ask you this kind of question on the spot. with some of the things that we're going through right now in our own societal terms, what we're experiencing, not just in our community, but really nationwide, right? There's a big divide within our love spaces. I would say there's more hate than there is love, right? So, what story biblically could you say relates to our current terms right now?
Hmm, that is a great question. I'm trying to see which one in particular.
You know, yeah, look, I'd
From
have I probably have some people say this is Sodom and Gomorrah right now. You know what I mean? But you know what I'm saying? But I know it's a little bit more in depth than just saying that and letting that be what it is. You know, I've read the Bible. I can't say I'm a scripture knowledge person, but I've read the Bible. I've read the stories in the Bible. So even in your book, there were so many things I could relate to because I'm familiar with some of these stories, right? But I think in biblical times there was always, I mean, I think a lot of times in biblical times and maybe in our Christian faith, we don't realize how much not violence but fighting there was to bring certain things to light. You know what I mean? I guess it might have been either good or evil or whatever you might have called it. There always was a battle to bring that particular type of idea to life. And I mean, just even as everybody know, David and Goliath. Everyone knows that story. You know, David
right,
was who he was. You know, he had a slingshot and he hit Goliath. He knocked Goliath, killed Goliath. But it's those type of stories that we always try to apply to our current life. And I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to figure out what story do you think? I mean, you know this better than I do. I can't even say I'm I'm scripture bull, but I know some stories in the Bible. So what story could you say?
I'm trying to hone in on a specific one because there are so many of particular stories. One of the things I would say is Joseph. When he was sold into slavery by his own brothers, and then this man went from being a slave to being the prime minister of Egypt. God just elevated him to a level where, and this is after he spent a good decade in jail for something that he did not do. So he was wrongfully accused of a crime. He was innocent. He was doing good. He was serving the Lord. And because he wouldn't get with Potiphar's wife, Potiphar is the man who he worked for. And when he was away doing his business, his wife tried to get with Joseph, and he was like, "No, I cannot do this and sin against God." So she accused him basically of rape. And then he was thrown into prison. And for at least a decade, this brother was just so good in what he did and so outstanding that they put him in charge of the entire prison. And then he was taken out of prison because he interpreted a dream for Pharaoh. And then, bam, the man was elevated to the point of prime minister, Pharaoh's right hand man. And based on his instruction, he just saved he didn't just save a nation, he saved basically the world, I would say, because nations came from all over the world to Egypt to get food because it was a worldwide famine. And
Yeah.
the way that brother planned years ago prepared Egypt to do that and be a breadbasket to the entire world. 7 years of storing up food. I mean, you get into, I get it. I ain't trying to give too much away, but I get into it in the book, his plan and exactly how he did that and his formula, how we could relate that to our modern day way of life. You know, that's just
I,
one story. That's a positive one. That's a
yes.
negative one too that I can bring up.
Yes. Yes. I feel you because no, that is a positive story. My mother, when I was a kid, used to always tell me about Joseph and um, what Joseph did and how he was persecuted and accused and how sometimes when you're down in certain places, you feel like you're worthless or you're doing things that you're not necessarily that you didn't get yourself involved in per se, right? But he turned something negative into something not just positive but ultra positive and ultra important. And I think the wisdom in that is that even in the midst of challenges, I would say, right? Even in the midst of challenges, you stay who you are and you commit to those things. You commit to your own principles. You commit to what you believe in, and the good always comes out on the other side, right?
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of us, even when we're in those challenging times, sometimes we don't believe that the good's going to come out on the other side, or that we're going through this for some particular reason. Because if you think about it, Joseph didn't go through that just for him; he went through it for everybody, right?
That's
So a
right.
lot of times, what we go through as individuals and as people is not really just about what we're going through personally. It's for a bigger cause. And I think that the trials that God takes you through sometimes we have to remember that. I'm speaking to the choir right here. I'm talking to myself, right? But we have to remember that these challenges are not just bad times. These are times to really get yourself right, get yourself mentally strong, spiritually strong, emotionally strong. So when you become prime minister of a nation, nothing's going to affect you. And
Absolutely.
that's the way I related to Joseph. And even as you talked about the accusations, how many brothers do we know have been accused of stuff, put in jail for things that they didn't do? His brothers sitting in jail right
Absolutely.
now for things they
Yes,
didn't
sir.
do. So you just have to you got to know that what you're talking about in terms of biblical wisdom and principles applied to today. It's so critical, man. It's a critical thing. So
It
dope.
is.
As you can see, brother, I'm loving this, brother Kareem. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. So one of the things I wanted to ask you was, on the subtitle on your book, biblical life lessons for modern day living. The subtitle is applying practical biblical wisdom in life situations. Now I asked you one about just how giving that kind of example of what we're going through right now, but tell me a little bit about maybe some of the things that you personally might have gathered, and not just in writing the book, things that you might have experienced and understanding how to apply that biblical wisdom.
Well, I'm gonna tell you about myself. In one of the chapters, I was talking about just following the right path. I think I'm gonna look and see which chapter it was exactly. Oh, follow your gut feeling. That is chapter 6. Follow your gut feeling. God gives us warning signs when things are not right. He always give you a warning sign. And lots of times, myself included, we ignore those warning signs and bam, that's when things happen. That could have been avoided, you know? One of the examples I give in the book, and I'm glad you brought this up, I used to hang on the street corner with drug dealers. Okay. How that came about, I would go out for 2 years in my 20s. I could not get a steady job. I would go on interviews, I would get rejected, and bam, I'm like day after day after day, get jobs here and there, but nothing steady, no steady work. After facing that rejection all day, every day, week after week, month after month, the brothers that I saw on the corner never rejected me. And that's the allure. That's what draws you in. The world rejected me constantly, day in and day out. Them brothers on the corner was waiting for me. So how'd it go? I didn't get it. All right, take this 22 ounce of Coke 45 and drink that. He offered me the drugs, and I didn't smoke or use drugs, but they all did. So I was like, you know what? Let me hang with these dudes because they instantly accepted me. I got rejected all the time. Here's a group that's accepting me. That's why the allure of bringing in people who into gang banging, into drug dealing, and all that gang activity is because they readily accept you. And if you've been beat up enough by the world, guess what? You have a group that's readily accepting you. What are you going to do? You're going to gravitate toward that group. Just like that old saying, if you can't beat them, you join them.
Join them.
And then one day I was going across the street to the house, the apartment building where most of them lived. And I saw a young brother that I knew being led out the building by the police in handcuffs. Immediately I stopped. And in military, we would say about face, and I left. And I never went back. See, that was the warning sign God was giving me. Take a close look because that's going to be you if you keep on this path. And I was like, okay. I heeded the warning sign and I never went back. And then and other things I began to cut out, and I said, I can't do this anymore because I'm seeing where this is leading me. And it got to a point where God just upended us and we ended up moving somewhere else where I got just so thrust into work that I didn't have time for any of that stuff. I said, but that's how God removed me. He had to remove me from that situation. That's how he saved me. You see, the warning sign was there and I heeded it. Thank God. There are other times where I didn't heed it and you pay the consequence for that. But God always gives you a warning sign. It's like ding, 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 danger, danger, danger. But through stubbornness, we still persist and we go on, and then bam, something tragic happens when it could have been avoided.
Yeah, you must be talking to me right now. Listen, I done ran through many red lights, as they would say. Many, just keep driving, right? and boy, you pay for it in the end. Let me tell you, you pay for it in the end, in one way or another. And I think that some of the things that we want to do, what we desire for ourselves, we think this is what God is telling us to do, right? But we know deep down in our gut there's something ain't right. You can take
Right.
it. I mean, you can use your example of what happened on the street corner. How many brothers have told that same story? You know what I mean? They got the allure of not just the streets, but the people that are accepting you. And everybody, I don't care what nobody says. Everybody wants to be accepted no matter what, particularly if you're rejected from the world, from your employment, from your family. You know what I mean? You're gonna want to be accepted somewhere. You're gonna want to have people that you can fellowship with in that kind of thing. Now, everybody look at fellowship differently, but I mean, in that capacity, that's what you're doing, right?
Right.
So I think I always looked at it as the warning signs. They come way before the tragedy of it, way before. And I've seen people, God rest their souls, not see the warning signs and pass away. And I've seen people heed to the warning signs and be blessed on the other side. So there is a fine line, but this is why I always say you have to be really open to seeing certain things and knowing it what these things are. And as you said, trust your gut. You know what I mean? I say trust your intuition. Or if you in church, they say trust your discernment, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and and I think all of those things are prevalent in terms of us growing spiritually, and not just our age wise, but spiritually and wisdom wise. And that's something I had to learn myself. So bro, you was preaching to the choir over here. I'm sitting around like, yo, I know about them times. Listen, I went in those street corners, but I had some things that I knew I shouldn't have done, but I did. You know what I'm saying? So
Uh-huh.
it's just like you live and you learn, as they say. And I thank God for allowing me to keep learning because I could have been dead a couple times. You know what I mean? So
Amen.
it's a big thing, man. So let me ask you this: when you put this together, what were you hoping that the readers actually gained from reading the book? A lot of times we think of some of those things as self help books, but I look at them more as words of wisdom to take you to your next place. Understanding. So, what was it that you really wanted to gain? What was it you wanted the readers to gain when they read your book?
I wanted readers to view the Bible, we spoke about this earlier, as a practical book that's applicable in today's modern world. It's not something that's far fetched. Oh, that's ancient. No, it's something that the Bible says the word of God is quick and powerful. That means that it's alive. It never dies. I don't care how old it is. If it's 2,000, 10,000 years, it never dies. So that means it has the power to give life. It has the power to teach, to correct, to enlighten, to strengthen, to guide. So I want people to basically take the biblical wisdom that is in there and apply it to their lives that they're currently living. So they could see, wow, you know what? This actually makes sense. And I could do this. What else? And then prompt a further investigation. What else does the Bible have that I could use? And then they start reading more and more of the Bible themselves, you know? And then you develop that relationship with God because that's how you get close to Him by reading His Word. You may not understand everything that you're reading. That's okay, but keep on reading it. You didn't understand everything you needed to know when you first started a job. You had to learn. You kept doing it, you kept doing it, and you got better and better and better at it
Yep.
over time. So
Yep.
that's the ultimate goal, is that this will stir up something where it's like, wow, I see the practicality in this. It works, it makes sense. What else do you have? And they start reading. Okay. And then eventually that leads to a point where, man, this makes so much sense. I would definitely like to accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior, because all I have is to gain. There's nothing to lose. Because if you see a pattern that, man, I followed this and this happened, I followed this and this happened, and it's all positive, even though there's going to be some setbacks along the way, that will prompt you to go further, to take action, and to have that relationship with God, which is the ultimate thing he wants for all of us, which is going to
That's real.
benefit our lives in the end.
That's real. That's real. That's real. You know, do you think, let me ask you this question, right? Is it, I know sometimes we do things in terms of when we write, our goals are to make an impact in people's lives, right? And a lot of times we think about the demographic of people that we're dealing with. Sometimes it's church folk, you know, sometimes it's just other folk. Do you think that when you write something of this nature, do you think that it could actually transfer over into other faiths in terms of just lessons in general? Not just, you know, maybe they, you know, maybe they're Muslim or they're Buddhist or they're Hindu or whatever they practice, right? But everyone should know that there are definitely cross sections of faith in terms of what we understand, basic principles that we have, and that kind of thing. And for me, I'm always seeking extra knowledge. You know what I mean? So there's biblical terms, there's terms in the Quran, and I always think that, is there a way that these lessons could actually influence someone of Muslim faith, not just of Christian faith or of Catholic faith or people that read biblically? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
What's your perception of that? How do you feel about that?
I believe you're 100% right with that. And I'm going to draw on chapter 5. Chapter 5 is Stay Ready. And it's talking about Nehemiah. Nehemiah was the cupbearer to the king. And Nehemiah was walking around one day and he looked very sad. So the king was like, man, what's going on? What's wrong with you? And he said, well, Jerusalem is lying in ruins. The wall has been destroyed, this and that. And oh, I need to go there. So he was like, the king was like, okay, well, what do you intend to do? Now here's the wisdom with Nehemiah. Nehemiah on that on the spot laid out exactly what he wanted to do, how he wanted to do it, and how long it was going to take for him to accomplish it on the spot, which tells me that he was already planning this weeks and even months in advance. So when the opportunity came and the king asked him, he laid out the entire plan before the king. So that's why it's titled Stay Ready. It's just, I was in
Yeah,
the military and I compared to a Navy SEAL. When the Navy SEALs are called on a mission and they say, boom, we need you to deploy to this part of the world tonight, they don't have the option or the luxury of saying, give us at least a week so we could get ready and get in shape to go do this. Absolutely not. They stay training every single day. They always ready because they stay ready and they can deploy at the drop of a dime. So that's something that could be applied to anybody of any race, of any faith, of any age, is that you stay ready. I also mentioned people in business who given their PowerPoint presentation, they fall apart because the PowerPoint presentation isn't working right and there's technical difficulties. I've seen it and they fall apart. See, your presentation should be in your mind. The PowerPoint presentation and your notes is just there for reference. Because it happened to me in church one day. I had everything on a tablet and the internet connection went out. And I was like, all right, you see? And I told them, my congregation, I said, this is why you never rely on electronic devices because they can and they will fail.
very
And
true.
all I did was pull out my notes as a reference. You know why? Because the presentation was here in my mind. I
Yep,
was ready. So
yep,
when something, it was a mishap, I didn't miss a step, period.
yeah,
I kept on going and flowing. You see,
yeah,
don't depend on the
yeah,
presentation. Don't depend on your tablet or your cell phone or any of that stuff. Make sure you have it down packed in your mind so that when the opportunity presents itself, just like Nehemiah did, he was able to roll out a whole game plan. Bam, this is what I need. I'm going to be passing through these countries. I need letters of introductions. I need this type of people to help me to cut the timber, to do the work, to do this, to build a. Everything was laid out on the spot. And the king was like, done. So what if Nehemiah said, King, can I get back to you in 1 week? The king would have been like, this guy is not serious. He don't have his act together. You see? So it's staying ready. Always be prepared. So when the moment and the opportunity arises, you can take advantage of it. Period.
Mhm. I think everybody that could listen to this would probably feel the same way. You have to stay ready. I'm learning that every single day. Every single day I wake up. It's not, and it's not something that you just learn over time. Like you said, Nehemiah he had this plan already in place, which means he had been working on it. So when the opportunity presented itself, he can spit out verbatim how the plan was going to go.
Right.
And like you said, if he was like, give me a week, he'd be like, oh, you playing games, right? You playing games. Like, come on, bro. You said give you a week. Like I teach a class, I teach a podcast class. Right now I'm working on getting it into schools, right? Every school I talk to, I go talk to them and I'm like, hey, I got this podcast. They're like, yeah, come on, let's set up a meeting. When I get to that meeting, that presentation is already finished. I don't even have to, I don't have to, I already know the presentation front and back. I know how it goes. I know what I'm gonna say. I know what I'm gonna do. I sit down, I talk to them, and guess what? It makes my life a lot easier because then I sound so much more confident in
Right.
what I'm saying. And anything, even in sales, if you're prepared and they know, even if the questions they have, that you're prepared for the questions, and you're prepared, you're giving them answers right away. That preparation breeds confidence. It breeds
Mm-hmm.
trust. It breeds understanding. It says that, yo, like this person actually knows where they're going. And people want to work with people that know where they're going. I ain't just talking about in business. I mean, even in relationships, if you got a woman, she wants to know, you know where you're going. Yes, I do. Well, I can get on that train. Then
Mm-hmm.
we won't go together, right? And your friends, even your friends gonna come ask you for advice because they're like, yo, he knows where he's going. So I'm gonna go talk to him. So that hit home for me because I think in every way, shape, or form, there's certain things that you were always getting ready for, right? And God prepares us for these things so that when those opportunities come, not only we're prepared for it, we're ready for it. And there's a difference
Absolutely.
between being ready and being prepared, right?
Absolutely.
So I could prep my whole presentation. That doesn't mean I'm ready for it.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a big thing I always say, but I digress because you
You're
killing it
so
right now.
right. Because for me, growing up, competence brought about confidence. The more competent I became in a particular area, is the more confident I was. Some
Yep.
people they could slick talk you and say a bunch of stuff. I've seen it, salesmen especially, and go all around the world and say this and that and that. I want to deal with the person who's competent. I don't care about charisma. I don't care about all of that stuff. I want to know, does this person know what they're doing? Okay. Does this person know what they're doing? And when I see that, I'm like, yes, they're competent in what they do and they're confident, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And it's the evidence of it. It's the evidence of that being done. That's what people want. That gives them security. Oh, I've seen him do this before. Oh, he knows what he's talking about. So like it's a thing I always understand in any kind of industry you're in, the more competent you are with things, the more confident you become. And confidence breeds sales, it breeds leads, it even it breeds friendships and it breeds relationships. Because I don't know no woman that you can walk up to and not be confident. She's gonna be like, hey, yeah, come on, let me talk to you, right? You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It's just the facts of the matter. You know what I mean? But
Yes, sir.
it's a lovely thing to understand, like why these biblical stories, these biblical principles, why they apply to us today. And as I know you've come into contact with this, and people have probably been like, "Man, I ain't reading the Bible. That doesn't apply to me. That doesn't apply to today's terms. What are you talking about? How do you rebuttal that pushback?"
I would tell people that the Bible is actually, I heard this from a pastor a long time ago. It's an acronym, Bible. Bible is believers' instruction before leaving earth. Believer's instruction before leaving earth. The
Ooh,
Bible is your guidebook for life. It's your guidebook for eternity, where you're going to spend eternity. The 70, 80, 90 years you're on this earth is nothing compared to an eternity. Like, where do you want to spend eternity? In torment or in paradise? It's a simple choice. It's either or. And it's the decisions that we make that's going to determine where we spend eternity. You know, the Bible is a book that is not going to basically make your life dull and boring and put a bunch of restrictions on you. It's going to make your life more livelier, if anything. Okay, it's going to show you what real freedom looks like, indeed, because you're set free from a lot of things that you shouldn't be doing anyway. I've never spoke with anybody that has benefited from gambling their life savings away.
yeah.
Drug
No, no,
use to the point where they're on their deathbed, but they drunk themselves so bad they have cirrhosis of the liver and it's just deteriorating. I've never spoken with anybody that benefited from any of that stuff. You see, the Bible is a book that's going to put you on the right path to living the life that God really wants you to live. And that's a prosperous one in every sense
mm-hmm,
of the word, not
mm-hmm.
just financially, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, mentally, financially, physically, being in the right, health, exercise, you don't have to go crazy with it, but take care of the body that God has given you so it can last long while you have it here on earth. Eating
That's
the right
real.
foods, studying, reading. What are you reading? For most people, learning ends once they graduate college and they go and get a job. And it stops. Okay, I got the job and they're done. You should continue with that. You should be reading a couple books every year, you know? Absolutely. It's something that is necessary. And the Bible is the best book. It's the best-selling book of all time. Number one. Okay. It is just that, the believer's instruction before leaving the earth. It is the ultimate manual, the ultimate guidebook, and there's nothing but blessings in it. It's to enrich your life. It's not to take away, it's to add to you.
Deep. Love it. Dropping bars, man. Dropping bars. I love that acronym too. Because that's an acronym I think people don't understand about the Bible. It's true. And I think when you break it down in that most simplistic term, right, it allows people not to think about it as so much of a religious aspect. Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be honest with you, 100%, right? I don't believe that, and I'm just speaking in our community. I don't believe that people relate to the church as they used to, right? And there's many reasons for that. People have church trauma, all kind of things, right? But there are still people seeking God's insight, God's wisdom, God's blessings. They're still seeking that spiritual side, even if they're not in the four walls, as they say. But I think that sometimes when you break things down simply, even outside of church, and it be used as a tool instead of a religious weapon, it allows people to receive it differently than just, well, that's just in the Bible, so that's what it is. And sometimes it's tough for me to actually tell people, like, the Bible is used as a way for you to heal and move forward and grow, right? You might go to church and this is the book they're teaching from, but there's so many lessons outside of church that you learn after school, after whatever, you so many lessons that you learn, that I always feel like these are the lessons God is trying to reveal to you. You never stop learning, right? You never
Right,
stop learning.
absolutely.
Every day you learn something new, and if you're not, you should try. You know what I mean? But every day you learn something new, and I think every day that He gives us is allowing us to grow in every facet, as you said, emotionally, spiritually, financially, mentally, physically, all those things. Every day we get is another day to do that, right? So I appreciate how you broke that down so simply, because I can receive it better, right? I can look at it like, yo, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a whole lot of sense. Because it's not that I don't want to go to church. I want to get closer to God. And this if this is the book that I can use to do that, then that's what I'm going to be doing. That's what I'm going to read. In my little spiritual walk that I was going through, that was one of the things I did was I was going to church the whole time, and I was like teaching from this book, but I don't know nothing about this book.
Right.
So the church I went to, I wasn't really, I kind of didn't like what was going on, so I kind of went on my own spiritual journey. And in that
Hmm.
journey, I read the Bible from front to back, from Genesis to Revelations, or whatever the last one is. I can't remember the last one,
Yeah,
but
that's right. Revelation.
thank you. So you got to know, man, that those stories don't just apply. A lot of times you can read them, and whatever you might be feeling at that time, you can not just relate to them. You can see what the results were, right? And there's some, as many people don't think, there's some gangster stories in the Bible. There's
Oh
some
yes.
there's some gangster lessons in the Bible, lessons you could teach today. Like even with the one that you reference in on your website or on the page, in terms of the king inviting these guests in from Babylon. I
Hmm.
forget the king's name, right?
Hezekiah.
Inviting these Hezekiah, right? Hezekiah inviting these strangers from out of town to see all his riches. Like, bro, are you crazy? Like, what
Hmm.
was you thinking? And then the prophet's like, sire, Lord, I don't think that's what we were supposed to be doing. I don't know if that's what you want to do. And Hezekiah, like, what you worried about? I'm showing them what we got. Look at all the stuff we got. Look at all this stuff we got. And I say that because how many times have we done that? How many times have we shown somebody something they shouldn't have seen? Right?
I want to
You,
draw a quick reference. I don't mean to cut
yeah,
you.
go
Do
ahead.
you
No,
do
you
you
good. You
remember?
good.
Do you remember? And he was from this area, Canarsie. I'm not too far from that in Brooklyn. The rapper named Pop Smoke,
Yo, yeah. Oh,
and
rest in peace
he
for
was he
sure.
was killed. I think he was in Cali. I'm
Oh,
I'm,
you
I'm not sure where. If it was L.A. or somewhere. And the brother was showing where he was at, where he was staying, and some criminal-minded individuals saw that and said, "Word, that's where he is. That's where he living like that. We gonna get him." Not that it's his fault, because you have criminals that are going to do stuff regardless, but you don't want to advertise to them all what you have. And I know in today's culture, everything is social media. We gotta expose everything. I saw a rapper, oh, should I buy this bag that costs 80,000? Or should I buy it? Was a female rapper. That's not something you got. That's nice. God has blessed you with that. But do you really have to go on the internet or on social media and always advertise that and show that? Some people took offense to that. We out here struggling and you asking about whether you shouldn't buy an $80,000 bag or a $50,000 bag. See, and the wisdom. Don't advertise everything that you have because people are laying in wait just to plot and just take it. And that's what happened to Pop Smoke. God is the soul. And I mean, they took the young brother out, and I'm just like, man, tragic. And I spoke about that in church too. And it's like another instance was Kim Kardashian, and it's in the book. This Kim Kardashian story. She went to Paris for Fashion Week. She advertised on the social media when she was going, where she was staying, and the jewelry collection she was taking with her. The people who they busted, right? They tied her up and her friends, family, and robbed her because this is what they said. They admitted to. We saw on social media where she was going to be staying, what she was taking with her, and when she was going to be there. And that's how and why we planned this. You see, it's not Kim Kardashian's fault that she got robbed. A criminal is a criminal. They're going to do stuff regardless. But you don't want to advertise to them and then stir up something like, oh, look at that ring. Wow, she's staying there. She's going to. And that's how they pulled it off because it was all over the internet. You see,
Kareem,
now you take that story and you compare it to Hezekiah back then, over 2,000 years ago, same thing, same exact thing.
and you hitting. I mean, you hitting it out the park, bro. Grand slam all day with this one. Because when I tell you, Pop Smoke was the next one.
Yes, sir.
He was out of New York anyway. He was the next
Yeah.
one. And I,
Mm-hmm.
I know music. I know hip hop. I've been a hip hop artist a long time. Still make music, but I know that this dude was the next one. Voice was so different. 50 Cent was
Yep.
behind him. He was headed to a different trajectory. He could
He
have been
was.
he could have been baby right now, right? And you think about right what he did, like you said, not his fault, but it exposed so much, it shows so much that I call it stunting on the poor. You cannot stunt on the poor. All
Mm-hmm.
my rappers out there, all my people out there with money, millionaires, making money off of whatever you making money off. Don't stunt on the poor because they're coming after you. I'm telling you right now, they are
Yes, sir.
coming after you because the way they look at it is you show them what you got and we don't have that, and it's more of the
Right.
have-nots than the haves, particularly in our community.
Yes,
So
sir.
you don't stunt on us. You don't show us what you got and flaunt it and tell us whatever. It's not that we just jealous. We going through challenges and struggles, bro. Now we coming to get you. That's how it goes. That's how it
Mm-hmm.
goes in our community. That's how it regularly feels. So you said use Kim Kardashian, prime example. Like, come on, man. Like, you're not supposed to show none of that stuff. And if you're smart about it, you would know. Don't make yourself a target.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make yourself a target because that's what people need. They always need a target. They always need a goal. They always need something.
Absolutely.
So yo,
Absolutely.
I'm loving it, bro. You standing at the plate, hitting it out the park with this one. I'm digging that. That was fire on that one. I'm loving that, man. So tell me this: what kind of feedback have you gotten from people who read the book? What are some of the things people have said to you?
I was reading some of the reviews on Amazon, and it has been truly encouraging. One, it was an elderly couple. He bought it, I think a young man bought it for his grandparents, I think. It was his parents or his grandparents. And he said they love it so much that they read it every night before they go to bed. And I'm like, wow, every night before they go to bed. And one of the things with this, it's a quick read. I don't know your reading speed and whatever. In about an hour, you could read this entire book. So I try to get straight to the point because I don't want to waste nobody's time. This is valuable information, and I want you to use it and apply it to your life for the better. So that was one example where they read it every night. And another one was like, this is like, man, the points of wisdom. It touched them like, gosh, that was one of their favorite parts. At the end of each chapter, there's a wisdom point, maybe a sentence or two, just surmising everything and that you should glean from and apply to your life. So the responses have been great. I love it. I love it. That
That's
was the intended reception. That's what I wanted. And I made it as simplistic as possible. I was like, I was in financial services and I said, I'm not using these technical terms because that's going to bring about a whole another thing that I don't want to get into. Make it simple for the masses to understand that a 13-year-old could read this book and understand everything that's in it, point blank. And that was the intention.
I think those are great. They're great. Your book is a great introduction for people who are not even familiar with the Bible. You know what I mean? Who are not even familiar with the stories that are in there because you make it simplistic. You can't teach people and be over their head. You just can't.
Right.
Particularly when you're talking about masses, you can't teach them and make it so in depth that it's convoluted and they don't understand. You got to give them. And I also love how I think stories are very much parables, right? They're the things that I think my OGs, my grandpa used to sit me down and tell me these stories, right? And he would tell me these stories about his time on the road and what that was like and da 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 da. But the parables in it were the lessons he was learning in the process. And now that wisdom he gained, he's now giving to me, his grandson, right? So it's the same thing with the biblical terms, or if we talk about fathers, Heavenly Father writing these stories, giving us his understanding, right?
Yes, sir.
If you look at it in that term, the parables, the teachings are often best taught through story rather than point by point by point. I could follow a story, or people are going to watch a movie, right? Or they're going to watch a video and gain more from it than just, oh well, the Bible says in Corinthians chapter 4 verse 7. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
those are it's you have to take the stories out so people can actually relate to those stories and see where their lines and relates to them, right? You know what I mean?
And what Jesus did, which was so brilliant, he taught people, just like you said, in parables. He taught stories of that time. Most of the things you hear Jesus say about farming and this and that. Why? Because it was an agricultural society back then. So
Mm-hmm.
that stuff people could relate to,
Mm-hmm.
having what, 1,000 donkeys and all of that. Now you can't. Most people don't have that. But back then, that was commonplace. So he
Right.
spoke of things that was occurring at that time. So everybody could relate to. Yeah, right. He spoke about fishing. Peter was a fisherman when he went and got him. So
Yep.
he drew things that was happening in the world at that time that people could relate to. So we need to do the same thing in this day and age, which is
Yeah, we do.
why I put these, parallels. One of them was the Kim Kardashian. Everybody could relate to that because I think anybody that I talk to, yeah, I remember that. I remember that all the time, all the time. So it's just making it simplistic, but making it current so that
Yeah,
people could say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. It's so dope how you did it, man. And I love just the simplicity of it, the understanding and the wisdom I was able to kind of just grab out of the page. You get what I'm saying? Like I'm like looking at this and I'm like, this is exactly what I needed to hear. And I'm not in church learning it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not hearing a sermon. I'm getting this
Hmm.
understanding right here immediately. The other thing I wanted to mention too, you talked about your readers and the comments they made in your Amazon page or your Amazon site. What I loved about it was what you said was they read the grandparents read it before they went to sleep. And I don't think people really understand what you consume before you go to bed is what you're going to actually be feeling in the morning or the next
Yes,
day.
sir.
So
Yes, sir.
I not only appreciate that, I value it to not just an extent, but to the depths of it because don't read the news before you go to sleep. Please don't. I'm telling you. All right,
Hmm.
just don't, because you're gonna wake up angry.
It's true. I could tell you, I stopped eating fast food after a certain time because when I eat that late at night, when I wake up the next morning, I'm not feeling good. So I was like, can't do this no more. Can't. I gotta consume stuff that's healthy. All the fried foods and all that stuff I try to stay away from, especially late at night. I don't want to mess with because the next day you pay the price. You
You
truly
do.
pay the price.
You
And
do.
that's just food. So just
Yeah.
like you're saying, whether it's the news, whether it's social media, because young people nowadays are just, and it's not just young people, that's the interesting thing. I've seen
Mm.
adults
I know.
literally
Grown
spend all their
grown
free
folks.
time just scrolling. And I'm just like, man, what if you just spent half your time researching something that you want to pursue or reading a book in the field that you want to go into? It's just amazing how much time that we devote to other things, when we could be doing something more positive to bring
Yeah.
about the changes that we want in our own lives
Yeah. It's true.
instead of watching everybody else's life on Facebook.
Or Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat, whatever it is you might do. I mean, I
Yep.
completely agree with you. This is not a young thing. It's a people thing, because
Hmm.
I know people that wake up in the morning. That's the first thing they do is scroll Instagram. It's the first thing they do. It's like, what, Instagram for real? You scrolling Instagram first thing in the morning, and that they wake up and look at that like that's a repetitive thing. And I feel like if that's what you're consuming, that's what your mindset's going to be. That's where that's where your mind is going to go.
Right.
And I think I was reading this book called Tug of War, and they was talking about how social media often just gives you glimpses of certain things, doesn't give you the full picture. And in terms of just your book and but living in life and wisdom, there are so many full pictures that you have to grab in order to really learn, right? So you can see a 30-second commercial about, oh yeah, they're gonna give you $10,000 for your business. You can see a little 30-second commercial, but
Right.
then you gotta go dive deep into what this is and where this is coming from. And I think it sabotages our mental in understanding what our true purpose and principles and values are. And it's not that I'm anti social media, anti anything like that nature. I just feel like we need to put more stock into our understanding about why we're here and what we're doing here, what we're supposed to be doing here. That's just my spew.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna get off my soapbox now, but that's my spew about it. But that was about that. Do you have any other things coming up? Because first of all, like we talked about you've written what? From what I know, you've written 2 books. You probably have some other ones coming out. Some other ones you're working on right now. You probably have some other ones that you wrote before. So what do you have? What do you have in stock for yourself coming up soon?
I'm still working on the promotions for this book, the Biblical Life Lessons for Modern Day Living. I want to maximize that. And then I have other books. Every book that's going to come out, in the years to come is are messages that I've already done. So they're already there. It's just a matter of me putting it together and then bam, okay, release this one now. Boom. So they're gonna come, definitely. I
That's what's
have
up, man.
one that's coming and it talks about the three C's of life, you know. Now you hear that. What does that mean? The three C's of life. I'm not gonna tell you what it stands for.
I was like, come on, give me the acronym. I'm waiting. Okay, come on, give it to me. I'm like, wait,
Because
what we doing here?
I don't want somebody come and take it and then now they gonna write it.
Nah, that, true, true, true. What they say? What we tell the king? Hezekiah, don't show them everything
Don't
now.
everything
They'll come
advertise
get you.
everything you have, man.
You
Don't
don't. You don't, man. I completely agree with you. It's stuff I got stockpiled. I'm like, nah, y'all don't see this yet. When it's ready, you're gonna see it, right? That's love.
Mhm.
That's what's up, man. That's a, 3 C's is coming, family. Three
Yes,
C's is
sir.
coming. We don't know what it stands for, but I guarantee you it's gonna be fire. It's gonna be lit. I promise. That's dope, man. That's dope. I love it. I love it, man. Well, I'm gonna ask you this too. As an author, how do you personally stay balanced with not just scripture, but also just life? How do you personally do that for yourself?
The one of the biggest thing is you maintaining a connection with God. So when you get up in the morning, just pray. I don't care if you're in your car. I don't care if you're walking down the street. I don't care if you're waiting in a waiting room. If it's 5 minutes, if it's 10 minutes, 2 minutes, just communicate with God. That is the point. Take some time out of your schedule. If you could spend 2 hours scrolling on Instagram, I think you could find 2 minutes just to say, God, thank you. Here I am. This is what I'm going through. I need your help in this. And as simple as that, all prayer is communication with God. It's a conversation where you speaking to him, but then you also want to take some time where he can speak to you and you just quiet and you just listen. So it's a two-way conversation. You pray, you read the word. Like I said earlier, you may not understand everything that you read. In time, that'll come as you keep doing it and you study. You take a verse and you say, "Oh, let me look deeper into this." Get a Bible that's in the modern language. You have your CEV version, which is Contemporary English Version, ASV, American Standard Version, or NIV, New International Version. It's the common language of this time. One of the biggest things for me reading the Bible way back when was all the King James Version, the thee and the thou and the do. That language is like, it is outdated, number one. That was the common language at the time when King James people translated it, because the Bible was written, the Old Testament was Aramaic and Hebrew. The New Testament was Greek. So those languages are much more expressive than in plain English, much more expressive. The words are more impactful, deeper. So get a Bible that's in today's modern contemporary language that you can relate to and understand. We're simple.
That's fire. I got an NIV. I needed one. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
read. Because like you said,
Yep.
the D's and the dives and the this and the like, what is this? This is no. It's clearly another language. It's old time English, or
Mm-hmm.
English from King James, and it's translated. So the translations always don't transpire into what you're trying to say. It's like anything else, right? So translating Spanish to English, some of the words won't have the same impact as
Right.
they came from the original. I think that's I think that's dope. I'm gonna tell you, as a child, I'm a PK. I tell everybody all the time I'm a PK. So as a child, my mother wouldn't let me leave the house without praying every day. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I mean, some people might think that's religious, but I mean, she wouldn't. If it wasn't 10 minutes, if I had my bus was coming, and I took the train, if my train or bus was coming, and I didn't have the extra 10 minutes, she would still make me sit there for 10 minutes because as I when I was younger, I used to hate like, Mom, why you got me going through this? I don't want to do this. I'm ready to go to school. Come on, let's go, man. Let me tell you, I'm 45 now, and I don't. If a day go past when I don't pray, man, I'm off. I am
I'm
off. I am off.
I'll tell you right now, what your mother made you do spared you from a lot of heartache.
Who you telling?
in life. I can guarantee you that. What she
Yeah, she
made
did.
that what she made you do was probably the most valuable thing she probably could have ever taught you because it saved you a lot of heartache in life. Because it spared you from a lot of things that probably was headed toward your way. But the prayer said, nah, not him, not today. No. And
Yeah,
that saved you.
and
So her
and
making you do that, priceless.
I mean, you talk about priceless, invaluable, something you can't purchase. You can't go online and get
Mm-hmm.
this. I'm sorry, it's not in the stores. And for me, that has been my foundation in everything that I do. Right. And when you have those that kind of tutelage, you might not when you were younger, you don't understand why you're doing it. When you get older,
Mm-hmm.
and you think about it and you seen certain things happen and you know that's because of the fact of your connection is there, you're
That's
connected,
right.
certain doors open that you didn't think were going to open, certain people that you end up talking to you didn't think you were going to talk to. I tell friends all the time, sometimes I end up in places and I'd be like, how did I get here? You be sitting around looking like, why am I me of all people? How did I get here? You'd be like, yo, thank you, God. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
That's an understatement. I over appreciate it. I value it to the nth. And then the impact you make on people's lives too. Like you got to remember that we're all vessels here to serve, right? So
That's right.
so if we're not doing our job and making impacts in people's lives, we're not doing what God wants us to do. So when I see the impact that I make sometimes in people's lives, it's such an overjoyous thing for me because I'm so happy of what God has allowed me to do. Right?
Yes,
You know
sir.
what opportunities I have, what I'm doing right now presently. So you gotta be thankful for those things. You know what I'm saying, brother? You really do. You really do. You've really been dropping some bars in this, John, man. I think I'm gonna have to. You gotta come to the city. You gotta come to the city. When you come to Philly, I'm getting you in the studio, and we're gonna
Yes,
have you on
sir.
again because
My
not
nephew lives out there. My nephew's in Philly, man. Yeah.
shout out to the nephew. Shout out to the nephew. Next time you come in the city, we
Justin?
can. Yeah, listen, man. I'm telling you because it's not just the fact of your background in terms of teaching. It's the impact that you can make personally, which helps them spiritually. You get what I mean? And
Yes, sir.
and I'm looking at it more from a standpoint of how much it helped me and how much I value these lessons and how much these lessons teach. And it gives me so much joy to be like, yo, you were doing the right thing and it's working. And I could do nothing but say thank God for that because your knowledge, your understanding, your wisdom of the biblical terms, the biblical stories, you're helping me because I don't know all the stories in the Bible. You know what I mean? But I'm able to read your work and actually relate to it and understand it as a believer, right? So,
Yes, sir.
bro, like I'm not gonna say keep up the good work, keep going in the direction that God wanted you to go, bro. And
Indeed.
that's what I mean. Keep influencing, keep setting those terms, keep setting those standards for us to gain the wisdom that we need. And I really tell you from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate just this whole interview because I've been touched. I've been open myself. So appreciate you,
Mm.
bro. Really, really, really.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah, man.
having
Shoot, man. I said you always can come back, fam. You family now. Don't worry about it. You family
me.
now, bro. It's over. What you want to say to our listeners before I let you go?
Excuse me. I want to tell everybody, pick this book up. It's a quick read. It's simple. It's going to guide you in the right direction. Simplicity at its best, exposing the practical wisdom of the Bible. And that's a key word, practical, meaning something you could employ in your life on a daily basis. Like you said, you may not have read the Bible, but if you read this, you can go, aha, I know that story. I remember that happened. Okay. Really? Interesting. What else the Bible got? And you start exploring for yourself. That's exactly what's going to happen. And then don't worry, I'm going to come out with another more of these along this
You got
same
to
line.
you got to do volume two. You can't just have one. You got
Absolutely.
to have volumes. You got to have a couple volumes in that joint. You can't just have volume one. You just can't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I was thinking
Now,
about that and I said, yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. Indeed.
that's dope,
But pick
man.
pick
That's
this
dope.
book up because it's going to be a tremendous blessing. Give it as a gift to somebody. I've given some of these away because I'm more concerned with the significance than the sale. Sales is nice, yes. I want the significance to be of the utmost. the impact that it's having in somebody's life, that they can say, man, this book led me to reading the Bible more and led me to accepting Jesus as Lord and Savior. Now, when that happens, I'm a happy man. That's the end result that I want. That's the end result ultimately, you know.
That's what's up, man. That's love. That's fire. That's fire. Before I let you go though, when we first talked, you said you were, you had a story behind your name, and I wanted to make sure I grasped that and captured that because I think sometimes a name defines how a person is, who they are. My mother didn't name me. Jimmy Bonds is my podcast alias, music name. That's who I am. I don't really give my legal name, but my mother waited 3 days to name me after I was born, and I feel like a name often can dictate and determine who you are and where you're going. So talk to me a little bit about that because that was something I found interesting when we first talked. He was like, "Yeah, I got a whole story behind it." Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, I'm from Honduras originally, my whole family from there. And they named me after my next door neighbor. His name was Karim Sikafi. Okay, he was Arabic, he's Muslim. That name, Karim, means kind and generous. So that's what they named me after him. And well, I tried to be kind and generous as I can. And my full name is Karim Rodolfo Valentine. That's what I have on the book, Rodolfo Valentine. So that's my middle name, Rodolfo, my last name, Valentine. That's my writing name, which actually is my name. It's not a goal, it's real. So, but the name Karim is kind and generous. And they named me after him. Well, they were best friends back in Honduras. Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope,
So
man.
I
I love
try
it.
my best to live up to that name because I know what it means, kind and generous, helping people. And what's interesting is that I've seen my parents do that their entire life. My grandmother back in Honduras basically ran a local orphanage because all the kids from the neighborhood, and you know how much people would come up to my mother and say, "Gosh, thank you," because my mother or my grandmother welcomed them in when they didn't have something to eat, they didn't have clothes to wear, and she provided for them. So it's just continuing that legacy. It's helping people. It's being kind. It's being generous. Just say a kind word. If you see somebody depressed, encourage them. If you the Bible even says it, if you see your enemy and he's hungry, give him something to eat. And I feel if we practice that more, man, this world would be a better place. Because right now, the climate that you open the show in about, like, is so ready to condemn everybody. It's so ready to cancel everybody. What Denzel Washington said recently. He said, "You can't cancel me if I never signed up." So I love that. I love that.
It's
Just,
true.
just, just help people. Help people in whatever way you can. Plain and simple.
Love it, man. Love it. That's real. I'm glad I asked you that. That was something I wanted to make sure I got in because I was like, that is such an interesting factor. My name, I share it. My name is Jawara. I'm a senior. My son has my name as well. But my name means peace, love, and understanding.
Mm,
And it's from the country of Gambia. The first president of Gambia was President Jawara. It is a West African name. When I meet West Africans, they always go crazy because they'd be like, "Yo, that is your name?" And I'm like, "Yes." And I don't use it in my professional world because it's what I want to preserve for my family, if you understand what I mean.
right.
But I
Mm-hmm.
also value the lessons or the foundation of it because it's become who I am. Peace, love, and understanding. And in all things that I do, podcasting, music, stage plays, documentaries I'm shooting, that is the principles I have to live by because of the people I'm dealing with. You know what I mean? You have to show peace, you have to show love. And the biggest thing about it is we have to have understanding. So I value what's in a name often because not just the stories behind them, but because who these people end up becoming. And brother, your parents were right. You are definitely kind and generous and thoughtful and all the things that you do, even with the knowledge that you share. So, brother, pronounce it for me again. It's not Kareem, it's Karim.
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 Mm-hmm.
Brother Karim, I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate this. This has been dope. This has been insightful. This has been uplifting. I listen, man. I'm going to float to my next situation, whatever I got to do next. Because you really touched me today, bro. I greatly appreciate this. Dope, 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 dope. And that's I'm gonna let you go, man. This has been fire. This has been fire, bro. This has been fire.
I
But we,
appreciate it, Jimmy.
yeah,
I
man,
appreciate
yeah,
it. When
man.
I'm in Philly, I'm definitely gonna come by and check you out. Indeed.
Yeah, please
Indeed.
do, please do. I told you we family now, bro. You always
Yes,
got a seat
sir.
at my table. Come on, let's come get it. Come get
Hmm.
it. Come get it. But fam,
Absolutely.
that's gonna wrap this show. We want to thank y'all for listening to Jimmy Bond's podcast right here on Philadelphia Radio. Remember, you always can call us with your comments, your questions at 215-472-0881. Again, that's 215-472-0881. You can email us. Make sure you email us at jimmybondspodcast at gmail.com. Again, it's jimmybondspodcast at gmail.com. It's JIMMYBONDS podcast at gmail.com. And family, you're going to be able to hear this podcast on all the podcast platforms, whatever you listen on, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you go, you're going to be able to hear this podcast. And I guarantee you it's going to touch your life. So until the next episode, you can find me on Good Hope Road. Screaming, stay up. Don't sleep in your dreams. And please, please, please call somebody you talked to recently, somebody you haven't talked to recently. Call them and tell them that you love them because you never know where you might get another chance. My brother Karim, I'm Jimmy Bonds. Shout out to the squad, and we out. Peace.
Amen. Awesome, brother. Awesome.